Hi guys, I hope you're all doing very well. It's been a very long time since I've made a video, but I just wanted to make this one just to kind of complete the series, if you will, that I made on psychosis and close it with a video sharing some tips, that might help you to move on from that experience. And hopefully that they'll bless you as well. Hopefully, if it's you yourself that's trying to navigate that post-psychotic life, or if you have a family member or a friend and you're wondering how to support them, then I hope that some of the things that I share here will be helpful to you in doing that. I just want to make a note that I'm not going to share anything about medications in this video. I'm not a doctor. Like, the best thing for you to do is to discuss with your GP, if there's something you're not happy with, if there's side effects you're experiencing, if you want to titrate and get a lower dose. Discuss all of those things with your GP. If you feel your GP is not listening to you, then ask for a second opinion. But discuss it with them and try to come to a treatment plan that you're happy with. So the first thing that I want to share is journaling. Journal. I honestly feel like if I did not journal, I would not be able to sit here as sound-minded as I am right now, right? And one of the things that's really helpful about journaling is that it helps you to process your thoughts, helps you to process the content of your experience, which is really important, especially for psychosis, right? Because we're dealing with delusions, we're dealing with hallucinations, we're dealing with, the imaginative capacity run wild, right? And it's so important to be able to process and make sense of those things and look at, well, why did I think that? Why did I believe that? Where did that thought come from? It's very easy to dismiss it as just, part of the diagnosis, or it's just meaningless, it's just crazy, but it's honestly not. Everything that you experience, everything that comes up is meaningful. And if you seek to understand that meaning, it's really going to benefit you and it's going to help you to move forward, because those things will only keep coming back up. And if you don't address them, if you don't deal with them, if you don't go through a process of making sense of them and constructing the narrative, when they come up again, it's going to be more painful and more confusing. So it's really helpful to kind of have a process by which you can explore some of the content and the themes that come up for you. And there's a lot of literature as well, that talks about our delusional content or our hallucinations being fragmented memories of things in the past that we've experienced but dissociated from. So for example, a lot of people who have been bullied, let's say in the past, might have the experience of hearing the voice of their bully, right? And then that becomes their auditory hallucination. So that's something that you could journal about, that you could process, like, what are my feelings about that? What memories have I repressed from, that part of my life? Where does that come from? What does that mean? What are the emotions attached to that? How do I make sense of how that is showing up in my life now, and how do I respond to it? These are all questions that journaling will help you to kind of work through, so that you can work through the experience. And another reason that journaling is really great is because it will highlight your thought processes and it will help you to identify triggers, right? It will help you to identify triggers in your thinking, triggers in your emotion. It will help you to become more self-aware, which is really important in psychosis, because the main issue is around this divide between your internal reality and what's happening outside of you, right? So when you're journaling, you'll be able to kind of keep track of your thought processes. You'll be able to monitor your mind a bit more, so that you're able to kind of make sure that what you're experiencing or thinking is in line with your reality, and you'll be able to respond more appropriately than if you're not aware of what you're thinking. So I really encourage you to journal, as often as you can. Daily is quite difficult, but daily would be good. But once a week even, or like a couple of times a week, just so you get into a habit of processing and expressing and exploring, your internal life. So the second thing that I would say is to have a grounding process. So a grounding process you know, is really just something that helps you to come from a hyper arousal state to a, you know, more calm place. So it could be a breathing practice. That's going to be really helpful in terms of navigating flashbacks, right? This is something that nobody tells you about, nobody, right? So for me, one of the things that was part of my experience was that I used to communicate to, you know, these other beings and stuff by blinking. So I would blink twice for yes, and I would blink once for no. So now when it's like a post-psychotic episode, you know, whenever I blink, I would be transported back into that episode, by which I would communicate to blink, or if I notice people blinking, it would, you know, trigger a memory of that experience, and with that would come, you know, all of these other emotions associated with the episode. So for example, you know, people didn't understand me, people just thought I was crazy, people just dismissed me, nobody understood, you know, everyone turned their back on me, and all of these emotions, all of these things, you know, would come up. And you know, when those things do come up, because it is a very internal experience, it's a very private experience, nobody else, you know, is going to feel that. Like nobody else is going to understand why I'm getting mad because you're blinking. Do you know what I mean? Like that's something that I have to know how to navigate internally. That's something that I have to know how to sit with. So developing a grounding practice is going to be really helpful to help you do that, to help you sit with those experiences when you are triggered, so that you know, can communicate them more effectively. You can communicate them to people around you verbally, via writing, creatively, whatever it is, but something that's just going to help you to be with those emotions. And that leads me on to the next point, which is really just understanding that, you know, your experiences and your feelings and your frustrations and your anger and whatever else you feel, it's all of it's valid. Like, you know, don't feel that you're not allowed to feel it or you shouldn't feel it. Like all of it is valid, whatever frustrations you have around the way people treated you, or, you know, people responded to you, not being understood. Like that is one thing that I feel like every single human being on the planet is searching for, just somebody to get them, somebody to see them, somebody to understand, right? So it's very, very valid if you feel frustrated that people didn't understand you, or, you know, people didn't get you. All of those feelings are very, 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 very valid. And if there's one thing that I want you to know, it is that, to be very honest. So yeah, just keep that in mind, you know, that you're allowed to feel what you feel. You're not necessarily allowed to act on how you feel, how you want, but you're allowed to feel, like allow yourself to feel. And that brings me to the next point, which is to find validating community and resources. Like I said, you know, a lot of the experience is very internal, it's very private. People around you probably did not have a clue what was going on, or why you were thinking what you were thinking, or why you were doing what you were doing. But there are people out there who have had similar experiences to you that will be able to understand you and will be able to hold that experience for you, and will be able to, you know, make you feel like you're not necessarily alone, and will help you to make sense of some of what you've been through. So for me, that was really important, because I was really interested in looking at the spiritual content of my experience. But, you know, if I go to my doctor and I'm like, you know, I felt like I was Jesus, dude, like, what does that mean? He's gonna look at me like, what are you talking about? Like, that is not a community or a space that is able to explore that with me. But I found the Spiritual Crisis Network, which is a organization that is really set up for this, to help you explore the spiritual content of these experiences. It's set up by a clinical psychologist, and that was a community that was really, really helpful for me. You might look at, you know, peer support groups. If you're under early intervention or any kind of service, it might be helpful looking at whether they have any peer support programs in place that you could benefit from, or just looking online for any community groups. If there's anything in your area, you know, feel free to message me as well, and I can try and help you find something that's local to you. But yeah, there's loads of community out there that will be able to sit with what you're experiencing, so please do not feel like you're alone. Another one is Emerging Proud as well. That's a really great one. So yeah, find the communities that will help to hold you and explore these experiences with you, And there's also a lot of resources out there, right? So one book that was really helpful for me was this one, Psychosis and Spirituality. It is a textbook as it looks, but it has, different authors, people sharing their experiences. It has some research, is obviously what I'm very interested in as a student of psychology. If you wanted to explore, what other people have experienced and what other people have been through, what other people have thought of, then this book is really, really helpful. There's another book that was really helpful for me, which is Madness, Mystery, and the Survival of God, which was really helpful for me to make sense again of the experience and look at some of the spiritual content that was in it. It doesn't it's not linked to any particular faith. Obviously I'm a Christian now, but it's very helpful. It gives like a spiritual framework that you can apply in any context, in clinical context as well. So if that's something that you want to explore and you want to discuss it with your GP, for example, then this gives you a great framework to do that, and just helps you understand, what's going on, what is going on in the experience. And another one that was really helpful for me, again, this is quite research heavy, but this is Madness Explained. And this is really a look at what psychosis is and what it means for our human nature. And it kind of looks at where do we get the diagnoses that we have, where do they come from? So it kind of looks at the clinical history of mental health diagnosis, understanding madness, understanding psychosis, and yeah, it's really good. It's really dense, so probably not a read for everybody, but yeah. But there are loads and loads of books out there. There's a lot of peer written like stuff as well that you can look at, a lot of support guides. Another resource is the magazine Asylum, which is really good, and I'll try and think of some more and put them in the thingamabobbum. But those are the ones that's what I can think of right now. But there's loads. So find them and know that you're not alone. And the last thing that I would say is really just to frame the experience positively, right? And that might sound very cliche, but it's so important because it's so easy with this experience to just look at it as negative, especially if it's had, a negative impact on your life, if you've lost a job or there's been family breakdowns, relationship breakdowns, whatever it is. But if you can, I really want to invite you to see this experience as a positive experience, as an opportunity for growth, as an opportunity, to be transformed. I really believe that every experience that we have in this life is to benefit us. No experience is to destroy us. Every experience is to help us grow and to make us better people and to call us more deeply into who we are. And I really feel like psychosis is one of those things, because I really feel like it is an unearthing. Like I was talking about before, those repressed memories. It's an unearthing, so maybe they can be expressed so that maybe something more authentic about you can come out, right? So that something more authentic can lead you in the world. And I really honestly 100% believe that's what it is. And there's so many parts of this experience that show us, the great parts of us. In this experience we encounter our strength, we encounter our creativity, we encounter so many great parts of us, that if you just dismiss the whole experience as negative, you won't encounter going forward. But I really invite you to take those things, to recognize them, to take them, and to go forward with them, and to hold the experience as something that, is something that is trying to help you to heal, trying to help you to grow. And I know that's difficult sometimes, but it will honestly change everything about the way that you move forward. So I hope something that I've said has blessed you. I hope something has been helpful. And yeah, God bless you guys. God is with you. You are growing. You are wonderful. And you're becoming all that all that you can be. And yeah, God bless you.